It takes place in this world. Well, I guess how do I phrase this? Hello, everybody. My name is Kelsey, and we're about to get very, very nerdy with some anticipated releases. So, surprise, I'm doing this video very late. I always seem to do this video really late in the year for some reason. I have no explanation, but we have books to talk about. So, yes, it's halfway through. Actually, by the time you see this, it'll be the end of February, probably. So I'm 2 months behind. But those are the months that I think I have the least amount in. It's usually like March through May is where the big books come in. And also, this is just like what's out right now. As the year goes on, things will come out at the end of the year, and I will just keep adding. So I have a ridiculous spreadsheet of books that are coming out in 2025 that I'm excited about. I won't go through all of them, obviously, but I'll go through the ones that are like top of my anticipated list, top of my TBR, books that I like am very excited about. So let's dive in. So I only have a couple in January and a couple in February, so I'm going to go through those pretty quickly since they're going to be out at this point. The first one I've actually already read, which is Adrift in Currents, Clean and Clear by Shauna McGuire. This is the most recent book in the Wayward Children's series by this author. I talked about it in my February TBR. So I think I said it was the 9th book. It's actually the 10th book. I can't count. But it's a series of novellas. For people who don't know, there's a series of novellas and one comes out in January every single year. It has for the past 3 or 4 years. So the series takes place at this home for children who have gone through doorways, kind of like Alice from Alice in Wonderland, the kids from Narnia, things like that. It's run by a woman who went through a door when she was younger, and for some reason, sometimes these doors kick the kids back out. And so this is where they go. Are some of the parents under the assumption that this is a way for them to reacclimate themselves to society, to help them out because they think their kids say crazy? Yes, but it's basically just a home for them to be themselves. And some kids go back, some kids don't, some are waiting on their doors, some don't want to go through the doors. It just kind of depends. Some books in the series take place at the home, some books take place in an actual individual world, and they follow a character as they discover their world, and that's what this one is. It follows a girl named Nadia, who discovers her world, which is about, like, they live underwater, and there's giant tortoises and turtles. I always am excited about this series, so that one came out. And actually, the other book that came out in January, I pre-ordered because it is Surprise to No One, Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros, which is the 3rd book in the Imperium 4th Wing. I can never figure out how to say it correctly, but it's the 4th Wing series. It's my beautiful Barnes & Noble edition. I definitely already showed you guys this in my winter haul. I haven't read the second one yet, but I know I'm going to love this series when I get around to it. I loved the first book, so I'm just going to collect them as they come out, even if I'm not up to date, because I know I'm going to enjoy this. I'm sure you know what this book series is about, but the first one follows our main character, Violet, who basically, it takes place in this world where there are dragon riders, and that's this world's version of like soldiers. And she is chronically ill, kind of weak, and she gets tired very quickly. And so people don't think that she's going to make it as a soldier, but her mom forces her to be a soldier. And then she ends up pairing up with this guy named Zayden, and he is like her enemy. Like, their families hate each other. So they're drawn together, of course. And then there's some stuff that forces them to work together. So this is the 3rd book. I have no idea what it's about because I haven't read the second one, nor would I even tell you because 3rd book, but the only one that I actually own at the moment. The next one is the first book in February. It came out on the 4th. It's called Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. It's this author's newest adult romance. I love this author. You guys know it. Everything has been good that I've read. I still have 2 books by this author that I haven't finished. One's her YA and one's her fantasy. I will get to them. I just haven't made time for them yet. But this is her newest adult book, and it's not STEM, which all of her other ones have been. So I'm very interested to see. It's about a competitive diver and a swimmer. It says a competitive diver and an ace swimmer jump into forbidden waters in a steamy college romance. So it could be like new adult. I really don't know what else it's about, but I don't care. I'm not a big sports romance person, but I will do anything for Allie Hazelwood, so I'm like, here, it's on my list. Also, I saw a beautiful version of this at Target, and I might have to get it because it had sprayed edges, and mwah, it was gorgeous. The next one, I think is also out because it came out on the 4th as well, and that is The Bones Beneath My Skin by TJ Klune. This is on this list because of the author. Are we surprised? I love me some TJ Klune. So this is his newest book. I'm just going to read you a quick blurb. It says, a spine-tingling thriller about a 10-year-old girl with an impossible power, her father, and an unlikely stranger who come together to confront the dangerous forces that want her at all costs. A strange story of family love, comets, and bacon. Perfect for fans of Stranger Things. So, do I really know what this is about? No. I might look into it later, but again, TJ Klune. That's really all I need to know. And then the next one, which I actually do have pre-ordered and is coming soonish. This one came out on the 18th, and it is Rebel Witch by Kristen Cicerelli. This is the sequel to Heartless Hunter is what it's called in America. The series is called The Crimson Moth. I know in the UK the first book is called The Crimson Moth, but it's that series. I really enjoyed the first one, like many people, and so this is the sequel. I'm very excited to get my hands on it. It's a witch versus witch hunter dynamic, and I fell head over heels. But basically in the first book, we have our two main characters who, one of them is a witch. It's in a world where like witches are thought of as bad. And so she takes on this persona of the Crimson Moth, and it's her way of like saving, it's like her superhero for saving witches. And so she tries to save this witch and doesn't get there in time, and the witch hunters have gotten her. So she's trying to figure out where she's kept so she can save her. So she decides to get really close with Gideon, which is her best friend's older brother. And he's actually the head of the witch hunter soldier thing. And he has been given some information where he thinks that she is this Crimson Moth, but he can't prove it. So he's trying to get close to her. So it's the two of them trying to seduce the other for their own gain. And then feelings happen. And I really enjoyed it. I am very curious because of how the first book ended. And this is the sequel, and I'm excited to get my hands on it. Okay, the next one is super random because it's one that I saw in somebody else's anticipated releases, and it falls within that speculative sci-fi that I've been really enjoying. And it's called The Dream Hotel, and it's by Layla Lalami, I believe. I don't remember exactly what this is about, but it's like a woman fights for freedom set in the near future where even dreams are under surveillance. Awesome. Sarah has just landed in LAX, returning home from a conference abroad when agents from the Risk Assessment Administration pull her aside and inform her that she will soon commit a crime. Using data from her dreams, the RIA's algorithm has determined that she is in imminent risk of harming the person she loves most, her husband. For his safety, she must be kept under observation for 21 days. So she's transferred to a retention center where she is held with other dreamers, all of them women trying to prove their innocence from different crimes. Yes, please. This one comes out on March 4th. All right, the next one, again, totally based on author, is called Swept Away. It's by Beth O'Leary. It's this author's newest book. I have loved everything that I've read by this author. It says two strangers find themselves stranded at sea together in an epic new love story. What if you were lost at sea with your one-night stand? I didn't actually know what this is about. I just put it on this list because author. Very interested in this. Oh my goodness, yes, please. So, I love Beth O'Leary. I actually need to. There's like two books of hers that I haven't read yet. The Switch and then the Christmas one about rings. I haven't read either of those, so I need to, but it's been a couple of years since she has released a book, and this cover is stunning, first off. So I'm very excited. This one comes out on April 10th. The next one is the newest release from Emily Henry, which is Great Big Beautiful Life. Again, I don't know anything about this one. Again, purely author. It says two writers compete for the chance to tell a larger-than-life story of a woman with more than a couple of plot twists under her sleeve in this dazzling and sweeping new novel by Emily Henry. Great. I need to read her most recent one that came out last year, Funny Story. I think that's the only one that I haven't read yet. I always wait until the paperback comes out so that they match the rest of the books. So I'll get my hands on that probably sometime this year, but I need to read that one. But otherwise, I'm caught up on her stuff, and she's a great writer, so I'm very much down for another book by her. This one comes out on April 22nd. All right, another one that I'm interested in because of an author is What Happens in Amsterdam, and this is by Rachel and Solomon. I have really enjoyed the adult books that I have read by Rachel and Solomon. I haven't read any of her YA stuff, but again, I'm kind of in that zone where like YA contemporary isn't really for me, but her adult things have been great. This has Falling in Love with Your Husband is Anything But Convenient and the Steamy Romance. I'm sorry. Are we a second chance romance? Because that sounds interesting. All right, so it says it follows Danny, who somehow made it to her 30s without knowing what she wants to do with her life. An office romance ends poorly, so she applies for a job in Amsterdam, thinking she'll never get it, but she does. And then by the end of her first week, she's like, this will be great. I'm so excited. Then by the end of her first week, she feels very adrift and alone, and then crashes her bike into her high school ex-boyfriend, who is a name I cannot pronounce. He's Dutch, and he was a Dutch exchange student that stayed with Danny's family. So it was kind of like a forbidden love situation. Yes, please. I love Rachel and Solomon stuff, and this cover is stunning. Very spring, very summer. All right, the next one is A Curse Carved in Bones by Daniel L. Jensen. This one comes out on May 13th, and this is the second in the Sage of Fae. It's a Fate Inked in Blood. It's the sequel to that book. Saga of the Unfated. Sorry, I don't know what I wrote down. I don't really know a lot about the sequel, but I really enjoyed the first one. I have enjoyed other things by Daniel L. Jensen, but A Fate Inked in Blood, basically we follow our main character, Freya, who ends up having this ability, but she's been told by her dad to keep it secret, and then it comes out, and she ends up being forced. Oh, it's been a hot second since I read this book. She basically ends up being forced to marry the guy that's like in charge of their clan. And then she trains with his son, who also has a special ability from the gods, and it's the two of them. So it's inspired by Norse mythology. I remember it ending very dramatically. So I'm thinking I'm going to need to find a synopsis online to remind myself what this is about. But I remember really enjoying it. So I definitely want to get my hands on the second one. All right, the next one. And again, another one based on the author. I saw a special edition of this one at Barnes & Noble or online, and I need. It's called The Night of the Moth by Rachel Gillig. It's the first in the Stonewater Kingdom series. I don't know how long it's going to be. This one comes out on May 20th. This is the author who wrote One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns, that duology, the Shepherd King duology. And I really enjoyed that book. So when I looked online, and that's her debut, that was her debut series. And so when I looked online and saw that she was coming out with a new thing, also this cover, stunning, I said, I am very interested in this. So this says it's a gothic, mist-cloaked tale of a prophetess who was forced beyond the safety of her cloister on an impossible quest to defeat the gods with the one knight whose future is beyond her sight. Gothic. I mean, her last book was gothic. And her world building was amazing, and I loved her romance in that book. So I'm interested to see how she, this brand new world. So like I said, this one comes out in May, but I may have to get my hands on that special edition because, like I said, it was absolutely stunning. But I really liked the writing and the creativity of her previous series, so I'm very invested. I'm so excited about this one. All right, the next one is a thriller. I've actually got quite a few thrillers on this list, but this is the one that is, I think, the highest because of the author. It's by Julie Clark. It's called The Ghostwriter. This is an author who I've read a couple of things by. She wrote The Lies We Tell, which I really enjoyed. I recently last year, I read The Last Flight by her as well. And so I have enjoyed the books that I have read by her. The synopsis isn't very long, so I'm just going to read it. It says, ghostwriter Olivia Dumont has spent her entire professional life hiding the fact that she is the only child of a legendary horror author, Vincent Taylor. famous not only for his novels, but for being the prime suspect in the brutal slaying of his siblings. On the brink of financial ruin, Olivia reluctantly agrees to ghostwrite her father's last book, not realizing that she will be forced to reckon with the ghosts that live at the center of her family. Because after 50 years of silence, Vincent Taylor is finally ready to talk, but is he ready to tell the truth? Ooh. I love this author. I loved the things that I've read by this author, so I'm really excited about that one. This one will come out on the 3rd of June. All right, the next one, I have to look it up because I don't remember what it's about, but it's The Poppy Fields by Nikki Erlich. This is the author who wrote The Measure, which was my favorite book of last year. It was also a debut, her one and only book that's been out. It was very good, and so I will definitely be getting my hands on this one as well. I found a study. Look, I've been going on Barnes & Noble because there's actually one near me now, and this is a problem. They have really pretty special editions. Anyway, I might get this one on special edition from there too. If I can find it from a small independent. Anyway, I'm going to read this to you because it looks like it's going to be really trippy, and if it's anything like the explanation of The Measure, confusing. It says, welcome to the poppy fields, where there's hope for even the most battered hearts to heal. Here in the remote stretch of the California desert lies an experimental and controversial treatment center that allows those suffering from the heartache of loss to sleep through their pain and keep on sleeping. After patients awake from the prolonged state of slumber, they will finally be healed, but only if they're willing to accept the potential shadowy side effects. And it says it follows 4 strangers who do this, and 1 little dog. A book illustrator, a fireman, an occupational therapist, a free spirit, and a friendly pup named PJ. And so they attempt to make their way to the Midwest, all the way west of the poppy fields, where they hope to find Ellis, its brilliant its founder. Each of their past secrets and mysterious motivations threaten to derail their voyage. Beautiful. Very excited. Love The Measure a lot, so very pleased with this. That one will come out on June 17th. The next one is the 3rd and I think final book in the HMRC series by Juno Dawson, which is Human Rights. This one comes out on the 3rd of July. This one was supposed to come out last year or 2 years ago, and then like the little novella came out instead. I don't really know what happened, but it's been a while since the second one came out. Have I read the second one? No. Shush. We're not talking about it. The 3rd one, very pretty, very excited about this one. Like I said, I believe it's the 3rd and final book in this series. I don't really know what this one's about, but the first one, HMRC, is kind of what the first one's called. Her Majesty's Royal Coven. It follows 4 women who were part of this coven, and they were really close when they were younger, and it's them individually throughout their, like, as they've grown up, and they're kind of being forced back together. There is this like big prophecy that there's going to be a kid that has an immense amount of power, and they're going to bring like the end of the world. And one of these 4 women is like the high priestess, the kind of one that's running the government for the Coven of the Witches, and she thinks she's found this kid and gets the help of someone else, one of these other 4 women, to hopefully train this kid in the hopes that the power will not destroy the world. It's a lot about trans rights. There's a lot about, men and women and that conversation. I know Juno Dawson herself is trans, so it kind of comes from, I assume, a relatively real place. I absolutely adored the first book, and it ends on such a big cliffhanger. I can't believe I haven't picked up the second one yet, but this one comes out. Very, very, very excited about it. Another one that I did kind of mention in my anticipated releases last year, and then the book kind of got booted, is A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. This is by Sangu Mandana. This one comes out on the 15th of July. This is the same author who wrote A Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, which is another kind of cozy fantasy, and I really, really enjoyed that one. It says, a whimsical and heartwarming novel about a witch who has a second chance to get her magical powers and her life back on track, from the national best-selling author of The Very Secret Society of Witches. I'm sure it's not in the same series, but I'm sure it's kind of set in the same world, in the sense of like the magic system and the witches are the same, I would assume. But I did mention this one last year, and then it didn't come out. It got booted. So hopefully it'll actually come out this year. The next one is like one of the ones that I'm excited about, but I'm also like, it's not the most excited, but it's The Nightshade God by Hannah F. Whitten. This is the third and I believe final book in the Nightshade Crown series, the first one being The Fox of King. I had that one from Fairy Loot. Enjoyed it a lot. Read the second one. It was fine. But I'm invested in these characters in the world, and again ended on a cliffhanger, so I'm excited to see where it goes. So I will be picking this one up. I don't think I'll purchase it because I didn't purchase the second one, but I will probably be picking this book up at some point. The first book follows our main character, Lore, who has kind of grown up in the catacombs, and she has this kind of like darker magic, but she keeps it hidden, and she ends up doing like drug runs is the best way that I can describe it. And during one of these runs, something goes wrong and her powers show themselves, and she's like, well, I'm dead. But instead, the king takes her, instead of sending her to this island that she assumes he's going to take her to, because like that's where all of the prison is. He's like, actually, I'm going to use you because I think my son is plotting against me. Will you be a spy? And so she infiltrates the court with the help of this world's version of like a monk, but he's not a monk in the sense of like, it's kind of, there's a romance happening, but it's like a religious leader in this world. And so things happened in that one, and then things happen in the second one, and I did enjoy it. I think I give the second one 3 stars. So I am invested in this world, but like I need answers. You know, like it's been long enough that like I need answers. This one comes out on July 15th. Okay, the next one might be, looking back at my list, it might be the book that I am the most excited about at this moment for its release. And that is Once a Villain by Vanessa Lynn, which is the third and final book in the Monsters series. You guys know every time I read one of these books, I am so in love. And this is the final book. Yes, it's finale right here. The first one was Only a Monster. The second one is Hiding from Me, Never a Hero. That's what it's called. And I got the first one in a Fairy Lead. Didn't think a lot about it. Picked it up for a readathon because it fit one of the prompts and became obsessed. I read the second one last year, and it was one of my favorite books of the year. I love this world. First book follows our main character Joan, who is spending the summer in England with her mom's side of the family. She's working in this house and has a huge crush on this guy. And things happen, and all of a sudden she is given the knowledge that her mom's side of the family is monsters. And this guy that she has had a crush on is actually a monster hunter. And then again, more circumstances happen, and she ends up going on the run with her cousin and this guy from a rival monster family as they're trying to solve some issues. The reason I think this is so fascinating is in this world, what consists of a monster is that you have the ability to time travel. However, in order to do this, you have to steal time from humans. So if you want to travel a year in the future, you have to steal a year from humans. It doesn't have to be the same human. It can be over the course of multiple humans, but that means that you're cutting the lives of those humans shorter. And some monsters could care less. They travel hundreds of years in the future. And her, being half monster, half human, this is really bothersome to her. So she does not like this. That's what makes a monster. And then each family has another additional ability on top of just like what makes you a monster. And so it's from like a monster perspective, which is really interesting, and the world is really interesting, and there was a huge cliffhanger at the end of the last one. I don't know, if I loved it. If you are curious about this, I would recommend, I mean, you can read the first book and it has an end. There's like an epilogue that like possibly leads to more, but like the first book has an end. So if you don't want to dedicate your time to a series, but you think that this sounds interesting, you can definitely still read the first book. But I'm so excited. And this one comes out on August 19th, so I have to wait a very long time. But oh, I'm so excited. And then the last, well, not the last one, but one of the last ones is a book that comes out on August 26th, and it is Gabrielle and His Grace by Liana de la Rosa. This is the third, and I believe it's going to be the final book, and the Lunar Sisters series. There's only 3 sisters, so I would assume that the author is done, but like there might be side characters that she does something with. Anyway, this is a series that This is the third and final book, and each book follows a sister in the series, or in this family. And in the first book, they basically are from Mexico. Their father is pretty high up in the Mexican government, and for their own safety, because there's like a coup and stuff is happening there, they get sent to England, and so for like protection. And so while they're there, they're staying with like a family friend, and like their uncle comes. So he's got kind of like an agenda. Well, they all kind of work together. And basically what he wants to do is he wants to show off these 3 girls and them go out in British society, and people in British society see that they are, you know, they have the same morals and the same upbringing, and they like go and they do all of the correct rules and all this kind of stuff that you would have in a British society, which will make people think twice about the fact that they are Mexican and maybe actually give money or help towards this war that's happening in Mexico. So the first book follows the oldest sister, and this one follows the youngest, Gabrielle. And so each book has its own individual thing. This one, I'm not really sure. It says a scandalous arrangement between a Hellion heiress and a destitute duke reveals truths that neither can outrun. I've really enjoyed the last 2 books that I have read in this series, so I'm very excited about this one. The next one is one that actually just got put on my radar by my friend Lauren, who happened to run across this, and it's Ladies in Waiting, Jane Austen's Unsung Heroes. It's a collection of short stories by like 7, I think, different authors. It's an anthology about the forgotten characters. And so there are all these stories from the perspective of people. Like, for example, one of the stories in here is from the story Sense and Sensibility, which has 3 sisters in it. But of course, the story follows the 2 oldest sisters, and there is a third one who's really young. And so her short story follows her. And so it just, I don't know, Jane Austen, it sounds amazing. You guys know I love me some forgotten characters. I love it. Stories that are about Mary Bennet, because she is incredibly forgotten in Pride and Prejudice and things like that. Like I read a book about, this also happens to be Pride and Prejudice, the cousin that's supposed to marry Darcy at one point in that series, or in that book. And so I love when you take side characters from these books that I love. So this one's supposed to come out on November 4th, and I will be getting my hands on it for sure. And then on November 18th is Brimstone, which doesn't have a cover, but it's the second in the Fae and Alchemy series by Kelly Hart, aka the sequel to Quicksilver. I, as of recording, have like 50 pages left in this book, and I need the second one right now. So the fact that I'm gonna have to wait until November is like heartbreaking, but again, another one that is like up there with like the ones that I'm the most excited about for the year. There's no cover yet, but I'm excited to see what the cover will be, and I've loved Quicksilver, so yes please. And then a handful, I've got 3 books here that I have potential dates for, and I'm not sure if they're set in stone. The first one is called Skybriar, I think. It's by Talia Hibbert. I've had it on my list for like 2 years. This says it's coming out in August 15th specifically. I don't actually know if it's true. I love Talia Hibbert's books, but what got me is this line. It says a new series of contemporary Austen-inspired rom-coms. I don't know when this is coming out, because I thought it was coming out last year, and I thought it was coming out, I think the year before that. It's just, eventually it'll come out. But it says this year. We'll see. Another one that doesn't have a cover is The 8 Heartbreaks of Hanukkah. This is by Jean Meltzer. This one's supposed to come out in October. And this one is the author who wrote The Matzo Ball that I loved. I've read everything except for one. I think her most recent book that came out I have not read yet. But I have loved her books. They always have to do with like the Jewish culture and Jewish religion, and also someone in her books is dealing with a chronic illness. I know the author herself both is Jewish and deals with a chronic illness herself, and so it comes from a very real place, and I have really enjoyed the books that I have read by her, and I don't really know a whole lot about this one, but don't really need to, because I love this author. And then the other book that I'm still like, it's been on my radar for like 3 years. It's Father Material, which is the third in the London Calling series by Alexis Hall. The first one was Boyfriend Material. The second one was Husband Material. This one's Father Material. It says it's coming out on December 1st. I think it said that for 2 years. So I don't know when we're going to see it, but I really like this series. I really like these characters. And if this comes out this year, awesome. If not, I will wait again for another year, because like I definitely want to read this book. I love this author and I love the series, but yeah, we'll see. Not sure when that one's coming out. And I think that's it. So those are all the books, not all the books, but those are the ones that are at the top of my radar for the year. I hope you guys enjoyed. Of course, I will leave everything linked down below so you guys can go ahead and check them out if they sounded remotely interesting. They will have better plots. I kind of zipped through these, so if you want an actual plot on a lot of these, go check them out. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what some of the books that you are looking forward to, your anticipated releases for the year. Do some of them align with mine? Let me know. I'd love to add more things to my TBR. Let me know what you are excited about reading. Let me know. And if you want to comment something but you're not sure what to comment, comment like a money sign or money, just something to do with green and money. Because I'm going to spend a lot of money this year on books. I can already tell. It's a problem. Great. But if you liked this video, and I very much hope that you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you'd like to be part of this awesome growing family. I've also got all my social media down there, as well as other fun bookish links. So check all that out, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.